Sometimes the most terrifying stories aren't about some big haunted house, but about a single haunted object. Today, we're cracking open the case file on a painting with a history so dark and a story so strange, it's hard to tell where legend ends and documented reality begins. Let's dive in. Our story really starts with this warning. It's the very first piece of evidence in our file, and it comes from the one person who knew the painting best, Sean Robinson's grandmother. She passed this chilling message down right along with the object itself. And, well, that warning, it would turn out to be frighteningly accurate. So, to really get a grip on the haunting, we first have to understand the object itself. Because before it ever terrified a family, before any investigators got involved, it was created in an act of just ultimate despair. The origin story of the Anguished Man is basically a three-step tragedy. The legend goes that the artist actually mixed his own blood into the paint. He was literally pouring his own life force into the work. He then finished this tormented self-portrait, and right after that, he took his own life. It's that deeply personal act of despair that's seen as the very foundation of the painting's curse. Sean's grandmother was so convinced this painting was malevolent, she kept it locked away in her attic for a quarter of a century. She had experienced strange things herself, hearing crying and seeing the dark shadow of a man in her home. It's that classic human response, right? If you can't destroy something you fear, you contain it, you hide it. But some curses, they don't always stay hidden. So after his grandmother passed away, Sean inherited the painting. At first, his family, who were pretty skeptical, just kind of stuck it in their basement. But it really wasn't long before the exact same things his grandmother described started happening all over again. The activity seemed to fall into two clear categories. On one side, you have what they saw. Family members started seeing this dark, shadowy figure of a man roaming the house, and sometimes it would appear right at the foot of their beds. And on the other side, what they heard. Strange noises, and most disturbingly, the unmistakable sound of crying and wailing. Now, the crucial thing to remember here is that Sean didn't believe in any of it at first. His skepticism was kind of like a shield, but that shield completely shattered one night when he woke up to see the shadow man himself standing right beside his bed, just staring down at him. He described it as a middle-aged figure, but with no clear features. An encounter like that doesn't just scare you, it forces you to question your entire understanding of reality. For Sean, this was the turning point. And this is where that fear turns into a search for answers. Seeing was almost believing, but for a skeptic like Sean, he needed proof. So he decided to go from being a victim to being an investigator. He brought the painting up from the basement, put it in his own bedroom, and set up a camera. He was determined to find a rational explanation or capture something else entirely. He filmed for 3 straight nights, and this timeline shows exactly what he got. So night 1, totally quiet, just normal background noise, nothing. But then look at night 2. At 3:15 in the morning, the camera records the painting violently falling, as if someone just pushed it. And then, right after that, something even stranger. A mist seems to form over the painting on the camera, and for just a flash, a single staring eye appears and then vanishes. That footage changed everything. This wasn't just a collection of spooky family stories anymore. This was potential evidence. The haunting felt real, and it felt like it was escalating. Sean knew he needed to talk to people who deal with this kind of thing for a living. A couple of years later, the family moved, which actually led to a crucial, though unintentional, part of the experiment. They took the painting with them, and within just a few days, the crying and noises started up again in the new house. Now, in the paranormal world, that's a key distinction. It confirmed the haunting wasn't tied to a place, but to the object itself. Completely convinced and out of options, Sean contacted paranormal researchers John Blackburn and Ian Lawman. They heard his story, saw the footage, and proposed taking the whole investigation to the next level. The researchers decided to take the painting somewhere it might feel, well, a little more at home. They brought it to Chillingham Castle, which is known for being one of the most haunted places in the entire United Kingdom. This was going to be the ultimate test of the painting's power. And this wasn't some secret experiment. On the night of May 18, 2013, Sean and the research team were joined by a group of people. There were at least 20 witnesses there to see what was about to happen. This wasn't just a personal story anymore, it was a public event. So during the investigation, John Blackburn started talking directly to the painting, asking it questions. And suddenly, a large, heavy wooden chair was violently thrown clear across the room by nothing they could see. A dark shadow was also seen forming around the painting. It was a clear, physical, and frankly aggressive response. For Sean, this was the final, undeniable proof. I mean, his journey started with his grandmother's warning and his own skepticism, and it ended here, in a haunted castle, watching a chair fly across the room. As he put it himself, it was the strangest experience of his entire life. All right, so after the wild experiment at Chillingham Castle, after decades of family experiences, and after capturing that bizarre footage, what was the official verdict on the Anguished Man? The lead paranormal investigator, John Blackburn, was pretty definitive. His professional conclusion was that the painting possessed a strong and genuinely unusual paranormal energy. He basically validated everything the family had been experiencing for all those years. Which brings us to the final question that just kind of hangs in the air. After everything you've just heard, the history of blood and suicide, the shadow figures, the crying, the video evidence, and that violent outburst in front of 20 people, what would you do? If this painting belonged to you, would you keep it? Because here's maybe the most chilling fact of all. Despite everything he and his family have been through, Sean Robinson still owns the Anguished Man. He keeps it locked away, sure, but he hasn't gotten rid of it. And that leaves the story and whatever spirit is attached to that painting without a final chapter. Have you ever picked up an old object, maybe at a flea market or in your grandparents' attic, and just felt something? You wonder if it holds more than just dust and memories. What if some things hold on to a person or a moment a little too tightly? I mean, we've all heard about haunted houses, right? That's classic stuff. But what if the problem isn't the house at all? What if the haunting is attached to the things inside the house? Could an old bed or a piano really carry a piece of its past with it? Well, there is a theory for this, and it's called an emotional imprint. The idea is basically this. If someone has a really powerful connection to an object, they loved it or maybe something traumatic happened with it, a part of their energy, their spirit, might just get stuck to it. It's like the object becomes a recording of that intense emotion. Okay, so let's take this from theory to reality. Our first story is about an 11-year-old kid named Style, and it all revolves around a simple hand-me-down mattress that turned his world into an absolute nightmare. So the family got some new mattresses, which is great, right? And Style inherited his older brother's old one. Now, his brother had slept on it for years, never said a word, no complaints. To Style, it just seemed like a regular, perfectly fine bed. At least, that's what he thought at first. That very first night, things got weird. As Style was lying there, trying to get to sleep, he felt it. Hands moving right over his blanket. He could even see the dark shape of a short figure standing right there next to his bed, almost like it was trying to pull the covers off of him. But that was just the warm-up act. Later that night, around 2 a.m., he was violently woken up by something truly terrifying. He felt multiple hands, not on the blanket this time, but coming up from inside the mattress, grabbing him and trying to pull him down into the bed. And this is the detail that sends a shiver down my spine. In a total panic, Saya looks over at his brother, who's in the same room. And his brother is laughing really loud in his sleep. But the sound, the voice, it was completely wrong. It wasn't his brother's laugh. So you see what's happening here, right? This wasn't just one spooky thing. It got worse and worse. It started with a simple touch on the blanket. Then it became something he could see. That short figure. Then it got intensely physical with the hands pulling him down. And then you add in that horrifying laugh and the fact that he actually woke up with physical pain in his ribs. Whatever this was, it was getting more and more aggressive. That story is just wow. But it's not the only one out there. Our next story is about a woman named Vicky. She had a lifelong dream of owning her own piano. Well, she got one, and that dream quickly became a nightmare. You know how some people have that one thing they've always wanted? For Vicky, it was a piano. Her son actually worked in furniture removal, and one day he found one for her. She was over the moon. She cleaned it up, polished it. It was absolutely her most treasured possession. And just like with the haunted bed, this thing started off slow. For years, the piano was just a piano, silent, cherished. Then one day, out of nowhere, it started playing random notes for about 15 minutes. Vicky just kind of laughed it off. Must be mice, she thought. But a few weeks later, it happened again. Only this time, it was 2 a.m. And it wasn't random notes anymore. It was a melody. Hey, does that time sound familiar? 2 a.m. The same time Sty was being pulled into his mattress? This is when the ghost music would start up, playing the same organized tune again and again, just like someone was sitting right there at the keys. And here's the thing. This wasn't just in Vicky's head. It's not like she was just hearing things. Her daughter heard it. On a completely different night, her son's wife heard it too. Multiple people, all witnesses to the same phantom pianist. That pretty much confirms something very strange was going on. So this piano, this dream object, had become a source of genuine fear. It got so bad that she finally broke down and told her daughter, "I've been hearing those sounds for months. I almost cry when I hear them." Can you imagine? The sound was literally bringing her to tears. So at the end of the day, where does this leave us? Both of these stories kind of drop us off in the same place, with these absolutely terrifying experiences and, well, no logical answers. We have two totally different objects, two different families, but the same feeling of an unsolved mystery. I mean, when you put them side by side, the questions just jump out at you. For the haunted bed, what was that thing? What did it want? And why was it so violent? And for the piano, who was playing it? Was it a past owner? And what was so important about that specific melody that it had to be played over and over again? And here's the kicker. Neither of them ever got an answer. Style was left with a memory of being physically attacked by something, and Vicky, she eventually couldn't take it anymore. She put the piano out on the curb with a free sign on it just to get it out of her house. And that just brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? It really makes you wonder, could an object become a vessel? What if someone's love for their piano or the tragic story behind an old mattress is just so incredibly powerful that a piece of them stays behind? What if some memories don't just fade away? What if they linger?